This is Morgan Joseph Langan. Please give him a round of applause.
The reason that we are in the situation that we are in right now, I'm going to lay it right out for you, is because of the banks. It is not our government. It is not against anyone. It is not against the police. It's not against any, the legislature, none of those things. The banks have created the situation that we are in today. So when I discovered that that was the situation, and I discovered that the banks were taking control of our land, taking control of our rights, I started doing some research. But I decided I was going to start out by suing a bank. Sounded like a great idea, right? You tried it as well. Yeah, how'd it work out? So here we go. Let's go ahead and roll this video.
Nestled in the trees along the banks of beautiful Oak Creek near Sedona, Arizona, Grace Grove is a sanctuary of rejuvenation and healing, where we have built a community over the past 12 years. We have thousands of members who've become part of our family in order to improve their physical and mental well-being. Hi, I'm Puma. Morgan and I are the stewards of this very special private retreat center that is also our home.
Hi, I'm Morgan Langan. Puma and I nearly lost Grace Grove 3 years ago when our bank would not answer our questions about their conflicting loan documents.
In our case, the courts and sheriff relied upon fraudulent documents, allowing the banks to confiscate over $2 million of our invested equity.
We took this matter all the way to the Supreme Court, but the bank chose to use a process known as non-judicial foreclosure to forcefully evict us from our home and livelihood under threat of arrest using 9 fully armed sheriff deputies.
Matters in the Supreme Court of the United States. Okay. Well, this has already been handled by our court right here. There's no Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you, okay? No, Okay? What I'm telling you is you got to pack your stuff and you got to leave.
It was heartbreaking to watch a moving company pack up our entire business in our home and place all of our belongings in storage. I had 8 men in my home for 2 weeks handling all of my personal belongings.
I may have to leave.
No, yeah, I'm going to be right here. You just keep going.
Over the past decade, 17.5 million American families have experienced similar shocking and vicious evictions from their homes through an insidious partnership between banks, courts, and law enforcement. I was absolutely shocked when this whole experience happened. We were sitting on the porch of our home, writing a document for the Supreme Court, discussing our thinking that we had a right to life, liberty, and property in our. And that was one of the things that our Constitution guaranteed us. Now, our founding fathers didn't intend that we would be able to, just do whatever we wanted to do. They weren't planning that it was, we have to have a certain amount of government control in order to be able to have a society that functions properly. But what they didn't anticipate was that this young lady standing in the back here, Jen Marie Radica, would be placed in handcuffs because she had the audacity to place a heart on the roof of this building with love written in the middle of it. I don't know how many of you knew that, but these are the things that started going. When we started seeing what was happening and when we started understanding what was going on within our community, it was like, what has happened to us? Where did we lose this? And so the status piece is absolutely an important understanding. And what happened, so when I started my conversation by saying that the banks were the reason that we are in the situation that we're in. The banks have obviously control all the power through the money. Is everybody familiar with the Federal Reserve? So the Federal Reserve started in 1913. The Federal Reserve had a 20-year charter. They were responsible for our first Great Depression in 1929. The Federal Reserve creates money out of nothing. And that's basically what the charter that was granted to them by the United States in 1913. They had a 20-year charter to create money out of nothing. Now, what does that have to do with your status? Well, in order to do that, the banks had to change your status from being a private American citizen with a right to have coin set by the Constitution. And so you had to have a voluntary agreement with the government. And in 1933, that's exactly what happened. My mother, who's now 93 years old, went to bed on March 9th, as a private American citizen. She woke up that next morning as a United States citizen. What that did was it gave her, she became a participant in the Social Security system. So the Depression, as the Depression occurred, there was, a lot of, people were starving. There were lines, people waiting for food. People were being removed from their homes. This whole process was happening that the banks were taking, the banks took control of everything. Happened. I mean, our birth certificates, if you have a bonded birth certificate and you look at the back of your bonded birth certificate, it is a bond number. There's a bond number on the back of your certificate. That certificate basically says that you are worth a certain amount of dollars over your lifetime. And in order to be a participant within this system, they place a value on that. And so when you take out a loan from a bank, the bank loans you nothing. They loan you $0. You sign a mortgage agreement in which the bank then provides funds to pay off the previous owners, but that money is created out of nothing. There is no source of money other than the birth certificate that person's signing. So in order to accept and become a part of the Social Security system, my mom voluntarily signed up to be a part of it. And now she's reaping the benefits of it. She's now getting the opportunity to have Social Security income, and that's coming in. It sounded like a great thing. When people were standing in soup lines, it was a marvelous thing. Social insurance sounded like a wonderful thing. The problem with it was that the banks controlled and manipulated the supply of money. They were responsible for the entire depression that occurred in that over that time frame. And the same thing happened in 2007 and 2008. That was another bank setup, another takeover of an asset sweep of our economy. And when I say that, what happened is that we had 17.5 million families that went through exactly the same thing that Puma and I went through. 17.5 million families in America have gone through this similar foreclosure. And a lot of you are familiar with or have heard that the banks, have anybody heard of robo-signing? So robo-signing is basically creation of fraudulent documents, just like they create money out of nothing. It's a creation of a fraudulent document out of nothing. The documents that were utilized to remove me from my home were completely fraudulent. They were just drafted in some office in New Jersey, signed by some notary, and that's what they utilized in order to remove us from our home. And that's happened time and time and time again.